Hello and welcome to the Wolves Report. I'm Ryan Lester and thank you for joining us for episode 88, where tonight we'll look back at the Man United game, we'll react to the Chelsea match and have a look at the player and game analysis, take your questions and look ahead to Saturday's game against Brentford. Of course, I can't do this by myself. Delighted to be joined by my two midfield generals in the form of club captain Mark Knock and our director of football and insults, Chris Tyler. Lots to get cracking with. Knocky, take us back when we saw each other last Thursday. Take us back to your take on Wolverhampton Wanderers 3, Manchester United 4.
We paid for a slow start, didn't we? I mean, you can't give a team like United a 2-goal head start. I wasn't too down about it, in all honesty. I thought that they showed a lot of effort, a lot of work rate. But I still think Man United are still a really good side. I mean, some of the play from Fernandes in midfield, I thought he ran the show, and they just had pace up front. And it was one of them really frustrating games where we defensively we were a little bit suspect. There was an overlap every time they came forward. There was so much space down the flanks, and there was little individual errors that cost us. But I just think, we were punished. I mean, they could have scored 4 or 5 by half time. I don't really think we could have had too many complaints. There was disallowed goals. They were just all over us, really. But then second half, we showed a bit of fight and some real quality, and to get back to 3-3 in the way that we did, you've got to give the team massive credit for that. I mean, all right, we've had a bit of a punch in the guts right at the end, but to show that level of fight and desire to get yourselves back into it, and I think we were kind of a victim of the Spurs game in many ways, because we did that against Spurs and we carried on and went and got the winner. I think there was a little thought that we could do that again. We were a bit ragged, we were a bit open, and the winning goal was really disappointing because he's kind of walked through our whole back line. But I think if you look at the game in context, I'm not too disappointed, because I think that there was a lot of positives to take, and they kept going, and that's all you can really ask from them. I think that we know Man United are a better side than we are. They've got a lot of quality in that team, so to compete with them at the level we did, and to be quite unlucky that we haven't picked up probably 4 points out of the 2 games against them. I think it shows how far we've come. But there is disappointments, of course there is. But I think if you look at the overall picture, I'm pleased with how we prepared. I'm pleased with how we played in the game. It was just those little lapses in the first half which have cost us, really.
Going to your take on the opinion on the game, Tyler. We talked ahead of the game last week, and we talked about the tactic changes that we thought he may make or we should make. Is there a bit of frustration at all, or is it lesson learned because of the result we got at Chelsea?
I don't know. We don't know the full ins and outs, do we? Let's be honest. We don't know if Aït-Nouri came back and was ready to start games. Gomez had missed 3, so was he ready to come straight back in? Hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it? And I think we saw on Sunday what our best team is compared to when a couple of them can be missing. And I do include Sarabia in that as well. I think Bellegarde struggles in that 9 position. He's not a back-to-goal player. You can tell he's not comfortable there and he doesn't like it. So O'Neill's bought enough time for us, I think, to not be critical about that team selection. But I think we'd all probably sit here and agree that if it was the team that started yesterday, I'd like to think we don't lose that game. You can't replace quality of Ryan Aït-Nouri and Joe Gomez to a point. I mean, we just look a different side with him in it, don't we? And they give us an element of control that I don't think we have when they're not there. I think Doyle's been outstanding. I was his biggest fan for those games. But like Knocker said, someone needed to get hold of Bruno. And we didn't have anyone that could do that, did we really? And going off piece a little bit. But to answer your question, I don't think we can be critical. I don't think we can be. If we lose yesterday, you think 0 out of 6. Maybe that is the time where you would be a bit more critical. But they bounced back second half. They bounced back with a plum yesterday. I'm certainly not going to criticise him and his team selection on Thursday night.
Knocky, but before the games last week, we all sort of agreed on the group chat and on the podcast that we'd have probably taken 3 points in those 2 games. Let's not forget, it's Man United and Chelsea. I just think, for me, the points came the other way around to what I expected. I thought Wolves would beat Man United at Molineux, and I thought they may lose at Chelsea.
Yeah, I didn't expect a great deal at the Bridge because we generally don't get anything there, do we? And Man U, we do seem to have a little bit of a hoodoo where, they do pick up results against us, but they don't generally play particularly well. I thought the team selection was probably about right. There's things we'd like to do differently, but they'd earned the right to play again after the Albion game. So I completely understand why he chose to do that. But I think that what it has shown is that we do need a player like E88 in that side because it was kind of down that side that they hurt us. But again, I'm with Chris. I don't think you can be particularly critical because you've lost to Man United. You've got to look at it as an overall and the performance. There were sloppy moments. I think the first goal's really well worked. They've knocked it round. They've played through us and they've finished it really well. I don't think there's a great deal you can do about that. I mean, you can always find areas you can improve.
It's a very good finish.
It's a very good finish, but the other goals I think were all avoidable. I think that's maybe where we could look at ourselves. But you're going to get those moments in games like this because teams like that can produce moments of quality to hurt you. But the overall performance is what I'm most interested in, and the work rate and the effort and the little bits of quality that we can show, and that was absolutely there. So although it was frustrating, I think if they score that goal in the 70th minute and he finishes 4-3, I think we'll come away relatively positive because we've seen a good performance from our team. It's only because they've hit it so late as they have, and it is a little bit unprofessional. But the humans, aren't they? They've got themselves back into it. They've got a sniffer maybe winning it. You've got players all over the place. No one's in their proper position, and we've been caught out with a goal that was avoidable, but it's still a fabulous run and finish. So you just take it as it is. It's a defeat. It's frustrating, but there's. For me, there's probably more positives and negatives to take out of that performance.
Tyler, how do you feel about the mentality then? Because I'm a fan. You've got the goal, now you're going for the win. Now, you're a goal down in injury time against Spurs. You turn it around with that mentality. It probably cost us at Sheffield United. It probably cost us against Man United. So at the moment, the books are about level because those games are all drawing. That's there. So now we're a couple of points up. But I quite like that mentality, that the belief just to keep going and try and get the win.
Yeah, I'm not going to say a bad word about it because I think the biggest takeaway from this season is that I enjoy watching Wolves play again. I mentioned it on here a few weeks ago, and I'm excited about watching us. I don't really fear anybody again, and I don't like the comparisons to Nuno because they're two very different setups and managers and teams and budgets, etc. But peak Nuno, we all loved watching Wolves, and we lost that a little bit with how negative we ended up being. And we're not negative at all now, are we? And I think that's my biggest takeaway. Like Knocker said, as soon as we got back in it, I really fancied us to get something. And it's that belief again that he's installed in them. So, like I said, my biggest takeaway at the moment is it's positive front foot football. And it's good to watch Wolves. I mean, what was that, 4-3 and 4-2 in the last two games? I mean, it's not boring watching Wolves, is it? And that, for me, is the main thing.
Just two more points then, Knocker. What can you? I'll give one to you and one to Tyler. Can you put your finger on why Wolves started so slowly in that game?
I think United started quickly, and I think when you've got a team with the ability they've got, if they start moving the ball around at the pace they did, they can take control of the game. I just think we started slowly because we started slowly. I don't think there's any underlying reason for it. I think sometimes you can start really quickly. I think we started well against Chelsea and ended up a goal down, and we started slowly against United and we were a couple of goals down before we really have time to react. So you can look at the opposition. It happens, doesn't it? I don't think there's no real reason for us to start slowly. I just think that you're based on what the opposition are doing when they've got good players in the side that they're capable of doing that to you. So it's just is what it is, I think.
Tyler, just ending on a positive. I know it was heartbreak late on in the game, but Wolves did win the second half, and I would argue that Wolves were the better side second half as well.
Oh, comfortably, and I think, like Knocker said, it's the way you lose it, and it is naive, isn't it? There's no way in a million years he should be.
Someone's got to take him out, haven't they? There's got to be a tactical foul.
Take a booking.
96, you just smash it. You go home with the point. You take your booking. That's where we can still sometimes be a little bit naive. But like I said, I think someone tweeted it that somebody I follow said you'd almost rather lose 4-0 in a way and just be totally done rather than have to deal with that emotion of like, yes, back in it. But then you think about it and think, well, the character they showed, the belief, they don't give up this team, do they? That's the main thing.
You're in a game with Gary on your side now.
I think one thing I'm sure we'll come to talk about it is there is now some serious quality in that team. And, that's Like I said, that's my biggest takeaway. It's good to watch. It's exciting, and I want to watch us more and more. Which I think we'd all agreed wasn't the case almost a year or two ago. So fair play to O'Neill and the players for that.
Absolutely, there's a real connect between the stands and the team. We understand each other, we back each other, and the last 2 away games, the O'Neill celebrations for me post game is I know people say, oh, it's Klopp this or it's Nuno that. Well, it's Gary. He didn't look like he wanted to do it, and the fans they've given it to him and they've drawn it out of him, and now he's enjoying that. And you want to see him manage it. It doesn't strike me as someone that's going to be chest bumping. That's going to be coming naturally, but he deserves the praise for that because he's just pulled off 2 fantastic results. He's won a local derby that's his predecessors have struggled to do, and we've just gone to Chelsea, who spent £1 billion and banged in 4 there. So I'm delighted that connect.
And you mentioned, the Klopps, the Artetas. I think the one thing about O'Neill again that strikes me is the way he carries himself. It's not an arrogance. It's just a nice self-belief, confidence in what he's doing. He's obviously still young. He's learning as he goes, and like you said, there is a bit of humbleness there. He speaks so well. He gets his point across without winding anyone up a bit. I think there's a lot to be said about that. In an era where there's managers that all can be a bit distasteful at times, the one thing I would say is he articulates himself and comes across brilliantly. And, it's a good look for the club as well, isn't it, to have someone like that?
Absolutely. You are listening and watching episode 88 of the Wolves Report. Mark, not Chris Tyler, and myself, Ryan Lester. Thank you for those watching live, and also those listening and watching on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and catching up on Spotify as well. Nocky, the second half against Man United was very good, and the manager entrusted those that made the difference, Ain't Nouri, Sarabia, and Joe Gomez, who come on, who made a real sort of big change of the way the Man United game was going, and he didn't let the guys didn't let him down on Sunday.
It was absolutely outstanding performance in terms of attacking intent and attacking performance and just attacking with a purpose, passing the ball around with intent. I don't think I've ever seen a Wolves team better than that in over 90 minutes. I thought we were absolutely exceptional. We looked a threat every time we got the ball. Chelsea were absolutely terrified. Cunha and Neto in particular, they couldn't get to grips with them. The pace of Neto, the footwork of Cunha, and what I really like about the way he set them up is they were floating into different positions. They were dropping right, they were pulling back out to the left. You had Sarabia, who was he was just dictating play. He was picking spots out in midfield. The 2 midfielders in Gomez and Lamina, who were 25 million, were absolutely dominating. 230 million pounds worth of midfielder.
Well, if you include Conor Gallagher in there, they want 60 for him. So,
well, there you go. It was just an absolutely perfect performance, and it was just really, really great to see. I mean, right from the first minute, we were at them right from the start, and we could have had a goal early doors, and we didn't. They went out and scored, and you could almost have forgiven the players for going into the shell a bit after that, because you're thinking, we just conceded we conceded another early one against Chelsea, but they just got more intent and they just went direct, and they play through him again. You got Gomez winning the ball in midfield. I thought he should have gone to Neto, but he goes to Cunha, touch inside, deflection, you get a bit of luck and you score. And then as soon as the second goes in, it's just all Wolves after that. And we just looked so dangerous. We looked such a threat. And we spoke about Gary O'Neill a little bit already, but to lose the quality of player that we lost in the window and to be probably the best attacking version of ourselves we've ever been in the Premier League is absolutely staggering. I mean, I used to love it when we had Jota, Adama and Jimenez. But I think Cunha and Neto are as good, if not better, than them in terms of direct play and attacking quality. So it was just it was an outstanding performance. It was goals of quality, even though there's some deflections on there. If you look at the build-up play and the way that we manoeuvred the ball,
make your own look there, Nocky, don't you? If you don't get,
you absolutely do, yeah. And I mean, you look at Gusto. I think that's 26-27 million pounds worth of fullback, and for the penalty, he's absolutely murdered him. He's going to have nightmares about Cunha because he just destroyed him the whole game. And Neto the other side pulling into space. It was absolutely wonderful. So one of the best performances I think we've ever managed in this division.
Yeah, Chris, it was quite the afternoon at Chelsea. There was the early goal going in. You could be forgiven as a fan base for what had happened against Man United. You kind of thought, well, here we go. But the response, as Nocky's touched on, was nothing short of fantastic.
Yeah, it didn't faze them at all. It's almost like it didn't happen, did it? They say, goals give teams a lift and change games, but if anything, it sort of slipped it out of Chelsea and gave us the belief, didn't it? Which was strange, but I think Locker touched upon it. For me, it was like the fluidity of the performance. I think it was 3-5-2, 5-3-2, then it was 4-2-4. You had Ryan Aït-Nouri popping up at centre forward, and that wasn't by mistake. I think it happened 3 or 4 times. He's the man in the box. I mean, it was just fluid, wasn't it? And it was, I'm with Knocker to a point. I certainly can't think of an away performance that good. I know we had a few special ones at Molineux, but to go to a team like Chelsea, and I know they've got their problems and they're not exactly in the peak, but I think they hadn't lost a home for a long time before that game.
12 games, I think it was.
Yeah, they're on a good run at home.
And for us to go there and hit 4, and I think it could have been 5 or 6, couldn't it? Bellegarde's had a great chance. There's a few, and it was
let's not forget those chances early on as well. We had early sort of half chances earlier on when the keeper's been having to be worked, and it was only their proper first chance that they scored.
He was in all day, wasn't he, Neto? Chilwell just wasn't up to the job on that side. I mean, it was a clear tactic, big switch to Semedo into Neto. That was clear. But then once they thought they'd got that problem, we then came the other side, didn't we? So I think Knocker's right. Chelsea didn't have a clue how to deal with them, especially Cunha up against I think Thiago's like my age. Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't fancy marking him.
But not as handsome though, son.
I don't think he did either, to be honest. And sometimes it just clicks. The goals go in, don't they? We've had days where those deflections go wide or they dribble to the keeper.
And we've conceded deflections like that as well. You've got to make your own.
You might not get the penalty, but we got it all and it all came together. And like you said, you don't often use the word perfect, but it pretty much was close to it, wasn't it, really?
Lockie, the one thing we've all mentioned about the Chelsea game was how fluid it was. Aït-Nouri's ended up in the number 9 position for his deflected goal. Neto's cutting inside. Sarabia, I'm not really sure where he was playing because he was everywhere. He felt like he was part of a midfield 3, and then he'd become a collecting. He'd be near the wing backs. When the players are that fluid, how do you stop that? Because it was, for us it's great, but for me, Gary O'Neill took Wolves another level up for that performance on Sunday.
Well, it's not an accident, is it? You can see that he's tactically preparing for these teams, and as soon as Caicedo had the ball, we just swarmed him.
Mm-hmm.
We'd obviously identified that he was a little bit of a risk for them in that midfield area. We could take the ball off him, and as soon as we picked the ball up, you're too wide, but they're just pulling wide and they're leaving space for your Sarabia to come in. And I think we've said since day one with Sarabia, you can't put him on the right wing. He's got to be able to just play where he wants, because that's where you're going to get the best out of him. And he was going on the right wing, but then he dropped back inside and he was just picking up those. It was those little pockets of space that the really good players can find, and it doesn't matter how tight your midfield or defence is, they can always find those little areas to play. But we were setting traps all over the pitch, and every time we turned the ball over, we just broke, and we broke with intent. And I think Semedo as well, who's had a little bit of stick over the last few weeks, I thought he was brilliant down that right hand side, because he was just, every time he got the ball, there was intent. He was just driving forward, and like Chris said, Aït-Nouri ends up for the goal that it's not his goal because it's going out for a throw when he hits it, but he gets himself into the right side of the penalty area. He's the most advanced man forward, and he's, how's he got there? That's not an accident, because they've identified where the space is in the Chelsea team. So I think with the days of Nuno, and I was a big Nuno fan, but the days of the rigid sort of formations are gone at Wolves now, because Gary O'Neill likes them to do what they're comfortable with. We've seen Max Kilman nearly every game. He ends up going on a little mazy run and disappearing into the other half. He likes players to express themselves
to an extent as well. He wants to take people on.
He does, yeah. And you want that. You want a manager who believes in you and wants you just to go and express yourself on the pitch. And if you can inspire a Cunha and a Neto, and we know Neto's a good player, but no one's been able to get the best out of him. But if you can inspire them players to perform the way they're playing at the moment, you can't do that unless you're working day in, day out, and you're putting the belief into them. And it's clearly happening all over the pitch. Lamina and Gomez, the quality those two have got. And I'm with Chris. I love Tommy Doyle. I think he's great, but we're such a solid unit with those two in it, and they're just winning the ball, they're dictating, they're bursting forward. We've just had quality all over the pitch. And the goal they scored was, you could probably pick holes in it. But again, similar to Man United's first goal, it's a good move, it's a good ball, and Palmer's finished it. But other than that, I don't think Palmer got a kick. I just thought we shut them down in every department, and it's just a sign of the quality and the preparation. That's a difference this season, is the preparation we're putting into these sort of games.
Yeah, I mean, I believe from what's been said, I think it's a secret that I don't think Lopetegui was as hands-on with the coaching. He looks like O'Neill's out there every day, and it looks like O'Neill's around every day as well. And you can see that I don't recall maybe the odd tweak here and there from 3-4-3 to 3-5-2. Wolves are tweaking it for every single opponent, and we've never seen that before. And the players are really buying into it, and you could see horses for courses. I do think Doyle's got a big part to play this season, but for me, he plays against a team who tucks in where you need someone to open the door. Against someone like Chelsea and your bigger teams, I think Joe Gomez is definitely the man in there. But what a great problem to have, Tyler. It's when you've got players of that level performing that well, it's all of a sudden, and we've got Hwangi Chan to come back as well, which I never thought I'd be saying. How positive is it to have options like this?
Yeah, someone's just put it on there. I think it's raised. It did. The Gomez heat map is an absolute joke. I don't think I've ever seen one like that where someone has
like
literally
a heat quilt, isn't it?
Every blade of grass. And I think he's right. I think maybe we got a bit giddy with Doyle because he had some good performances, but like I said, for me, it's the element of control that those three bring for different reasons. Gomez brings it because the way he just wins the ball back, but then he recycles it. Sarabia, because you're holding on to the ball, that's the one. Sarabia's just keeping it, and we're in possession, and we're not erratic, and we can patiently build up. And then Aït-Nouri, we all know what quality he brings. So I think we just look a much different side with those three in it. But then there are options there, with Hwang to come back. Bellegarde, probably still yet to see the best from him, I think we'd all agree, but I think he's been played out of position. Doyle, there are options now, not loads and loads of options, admittedly, but...
And Hwangi Chan to come back as well with that forwards are playing like that.
And it's just, again, you wouldn't have ever thought you'd be saying it, but you sort of struggle to see how he comes straight back in. We talked about the West Brom performance and players keeping their place. How would you drop or change any of that team that just played? And if they keep playing, and that's the motivation, isn't it? They know they've got someone behind them ready to step in. So it's on them now to lose the shirt.
But I think what that kind of that formation, that setup shows you is it's not so much you waiting for shirts to become available now. He will pick teams to win games. I mean, Doyle and Doherty. No, Doyle and Doherty arguably didn't do a great deal wrong to get dropped. They probably weren't our strongest players, but didn't do a lot to get dropped. But he identified that we needed the pace with Aït-Nouri's side, and we know the qualities are there. He identified that we needed Gomez in that midfield area that we could play. And that's why he put those players in. And then, we might come up against Brentford next week and he might think, right, I need Doyle back in, and out comes Gomez. He'll pick a team because he's meticulous. You can tell he's meticulous in his preparation. He looks at where we can win the individual battles, and it might be, it might completely catch us out. So when Hwang comes back, he's as likely to come in as anybody else, to be honest, because he'll pick a team that he thinks he's going to perfect the game.
Absolutely. I mean, we've talked about the first goal, Tyler, but that second goal, I think he didn't really show it in any of the highlights, but I think Wolves have shown the clips. The build-up to that second goal, although it's classed as an own goal on the end and Aït-Nouri's come in, that passing move starting off, it's absolutely beautiful in the build-up. Yeah.
Confidence, control. Everyone knows exactly what they're doing. They know their job. No rush, patient build-up. It's just a quality goal, isn't it? And I don't know what more you want to say to that, really. It was that good. And, the fact your left wing-back's basically your striker getting on the end of the cross, exactly what you want to see. There's goals all over the pitch now, isn't there? You're not surprised if anyone scores, really. And again, nice position to be in. But I'm with Knocker. I think Semedo always gets, mixed feedback. But for me, that was his best game for Wolves. I thought it was superb both ways, and I've been quite critical of him going forward. But even he just seemed very calm, composed, and indirectly was obviously heavily linked in that goal. So if you're a coach, O'Neill, that for him will be the perfect goal. He won't be able to top that because it's exactly what they'll be working on all week in training.
What I really liked about it was the short, sharp passes on the left-hand side of the pitch. They were confident to try and draw them in really close. Little passes, little triangles, switch to Dawson. Dawson clips the 40-yard crossfield pass. Semedo's fed Neto in. So we've drawn them over to that side of the pitch because they've seen the danger of Aït-Nouri. Done the quick switch and caught them out, and it's allowed Aït-Nouri to be free. it's a shame that Aït-Nouri didn't get to claim the goal, because it was such a well-worked, technically, teamwork. It was almost perfect. A really, really good goal. Another good goal, Nocky. Pedro Neto's work for number 3. He's shown Thiago Silva. Understandably, Thiago Silva's the same age as Tyler, and we understand that, but not as handsome. But after burners, he's shown Thiago Silva the little look up, the cut back with the right foot, and the finish from Cunha. Again, that is a quality goal from Wolverhampton Wanderers.
Yeah, I mean, when you see it again, you're screaming for him to play it early to Aït-Nouri, aren't you? Because he looks like the ball. And I don't even know how he's seen Cunha from that angle, because he's running completely in the opposite direction. Cunha's way behind him. But the direct way, the direct nature he's been playing, I mean, he's not really running at people, doing step overs and beating them. He's just finding space, and he's just bursting past people. And
he's strong doing it, doesn't he?
He's just strong, yeah. I mean, there was a moment in the second half when I think he beat 3 players just with simple little bits of footwork, and he's taking them out, and he's just taking the mick out of people at the minute. And when the run for the goal was just fantastic. He's on full pelt. He waits at the exact right moment to play it. And I think Cunha's movement in that is understated as well, because he never gets out of a jog. He sees that Aït-Nouri's pelting towards the goal line, and he just holds back, and he's just on a simple jog. The ball's cut back to him. He doesn't have to break stride, and he lamps it in. And it's just
a finish, isn't it, with his side foot? It's clean, isn't
beautiful.
it? Beautiful.
But isn't it? Even away from the individual goals, isn't it lovely to go to teams like this and compete? When we've had so many times, I've been at Chelsea where we've just.
I mean, look at it last year. Was it 3-0? And we were dominating almost start to finish.
And a few years ago, we went there and we went 2-1 up. I think Jody Craddock scored, and we ended up.
A few years ago, Tyler was 3 then.
25 years ago, Sam. Thiago Silva started playing by then.
I still think 1990s, 10 years ago, mate. So I can't get my head around it. But we went there and we ended up shipping 5 goals, and we've been there and we've just been battered every time we go. But just to turn up to these places and just be competing again. And under all the stuff we had at the start of the season, it's just incredible to see this level of performance against these sort of teams. And the difference is as well, we were a team of players and they were a team of individuals. And when you've got the kind of spirit that we seem to have at the minute, and everyone's working for each other, it really does just gravitate towards the whole feel-good feeling we've got at the moment.
Absolutely. Moving on to the 4th goal, Tyler. The man of the moment, Matheus Cunha. I mean, Chelsea's right back is fast. The burners he's put on him for that penalty, the belief and the strength to go past him. I wasn't sure he was going to give the penalty, but what a belief to go around the fullback like that and just leave him gone.
It was almost a bit embarrassing for the defenders. And it's like a Sunday morning game of like a pub team against a team of ex-pros, wasn't it?
Went past him like a gusto of wind.
Yeah, like he wasn't there, basically. Just picked it up, drew him in, and then bang, see you later. Stonewall penalty. I think he probably should have been sent off had he been booked. How it wasn't a second. How it wasn't a second yellow. You tell me. No idea. And it's nice to get given them, isn't it? We just now think we're never going to get a penalty, don't we? But that was a clear penalty. And is that 2 pens in 2 games? I don't know what's going on, but maybe the apologies started to hit home. But he then had the composure to get up, set himself.
He was never going to miss that, was he?
There was never any doubt.
He was booming.
Never any doubt. And I was going to ask you boys after you talk about the 3rd goal, but there's a clinicalness now, isn't there? You're expecting us to score. The players are making decisions at the right time. And is that all on O'Neill, is it? Or were they not? Do you know what I mean? I suppose the point I'm trying to make is it's Neto, Cunha, Hwang. They've all been there under predecessors. They look like totally different footballers.
It can't be a coincidence, can it? It can't be. You can't improve 9 players who all become goal scorers. That's not a fluke.
Ruthless. Just the Cunha one that you just described. That was a ruthless goal. That was horrible. Like you said, just pace.
Delightful side foot, just thumped it in.
When teams do that against us, you think, crikey, what a goal! Proper Premier League players, and like Necker said, that's sort of where we're at now. And I mentioned
it's a great description. That's a great description. Is ruthless, because we are now, aren't we? We get in the area and you expect something to happen. I mean, we've hit 4 at Brentford.
And you know what? Neto and
4 against United.
Yeah, our forwards get the ball. It's not. There's not a safety pass. It's how quick can I get to goal? What's the fastest route? And head down towards goal. And it's great to watch.
Intent. It's just we play with full intent at the moment. We spoke about this against West Ham when West Ham beat us 3-0, and we were envious of their intent when they played football and how they attacked and how everything was done with a purpose. But we just seem to be we've just clicked since that game, and you know we're going to lose football matches, we know that, but everything
Yeah.
we do at the minute, you believe we can score, and I think we're already 4 or 5 goals ahead of our total tally for last season. And like you say, it can't be an accident, I mean, especially when you look at the players that are no longer in that team. To be doing this now, it's absolutely unbelievable. For me, he's got to be very close to being manager of the season if we carry on anything near.
I mean, it's him and Rob Edwards, isn't it, at the moment? The day before, the day he took over, Wolves were I think they were one of the favourites then to get relegated.
Everyone had us going down.
I think Burnley were high rods, were more likely to stay up according to the bookies than Wolves. But I think Phil Foden has scored again. I wasn't sure if he has. Should be concentrating on the show.
3-1, yeah. He's playing them on his own, basically.
Has Phil Foden got a hat-trick?
Yeah.
What a stinker. Dream team, here we go. Back to Wolves anyway in the real world. He's just so good, as you boys say. The free flowing, the confidence, the ruthlessness. Wolves are just brutal, and it's so good to see. Let's go through the team now. I mean, Noki, Jose Sarr, I thought it was pretty good with the crosses that came in the box. Wasn't really at fault for any of the goals, but was he really that busy?
Before we go on to him, I don't know if you saw the analysis from on Match of the Day. I'm sure we've all seen that now. And they were talking about it's exciting watching Wolves. It's fun watching Wolves now. And that's not something that anyone said about us for probably 5 seasons now.
Those two words haven't been together for a long time.
No, but I think Sarr was fine, really. There was the goal. I don't think he can do anything about that. It's a clinical finish. Sterling's had a shot that he's hit the corner flag with when he should have scored. The striker, I think it's Jackson, headed wide when he should have scored. Other than that, I think everything's relatively routine for him. I don't think they put him under too much pressure. His kicking seemed a little bit better. He was claiming things in the penalty area. I think he's had much busier days than that at Wolves. He was very well protected, I think, and he didn't have a great deal to do.
Tyler, talk me through the back three: Max Kilman, Craig Dawson, and Totti. Now, I know Dawson's had a bit of criticism on our group chat. Totti's definitely had some criticism, but back three, I know we conceded 2, but it was a good performance for the Wolves defenders this weekend.
Yeah, I think if you're being hypercritical, I think it was a bit static for the goal. I know you boys have said it was well worked, and it was, but I thought we were a bit flat-footed with that through ball. But after that, once we settled down, I thought Dawson was magnificent. I know there's certain people that have follically challenged on this group that think he might be past his best, but I think he bounced back perfectly there with that performance. Kilman was the Kilman.
He's absolutely done Noki there. Done him.
He had to mention Totti there, didn't he? Flat-footed. He could score an hat-trick and he'd still criticise him.
Totti was a bit flat-footed, just my opinion. And I thought Kilman, that was as good as he's been for a while again. I mean, confident, getting the ball in tight spaces, those little flicks away from his players, starting attacks. I genuinely thought the three of them were outstanding. Yeah, jokes aside, I thought they were brilliant. I don't think any of them are less than an 8 out of 10. I don't remember Chelsea having a sustained period of pressure. Apart from the goal, like I said, I can't really think of anything. And
there was like a bit of desperation at the end when they were pumping some balls in the box. Yeah, there was that one Kilman tackle, but was Jose Sarr really worked then? I think he had that one save down.
How comfortable they were with the ball as well. That was nice. Again, there's been talk that Totti and Dawson aren't great with the ball. They were brilliant with it on Saturday, So fair play, yeah. I thought they were all outstanding.
Noki, Ryan Aït-Nouri and Nelson Semedo. I mean, Ryan Aït-Nouri, I think I put that controlled madness that Gary O'Neill talked about, because although he's predominantly left-footed, he can cut inside and out. He's appearing in the number 9 slot, playing in the number 10. He's a joy to watch, whereas Nelson probably had a bit more work to do managing Sterling and Mudryk and Ben Chilwell, but for different reasons, 2 very, very good performances.
I think Aït-Nouri is just fun, isn't he? He's fun to watch. He's entertaining. He feels like the sort of player who should be a number 10 because of the way that he plays and his determination to just try and make people look silly. But we just seem such a better team with him in it. And I think Totti's a better player when he's got Aït-Nouri on that side with him because he just seems to feel safer.
It's always an handball with Aït-Nouri. Aït-Nouri will pick a ball up in a phone box and he's comfortable.
You look at him and you think he's putting himself into trouble here, and then he'll do step overs, lollipops, drag backs, and suddenly he's down the left wing creating an opportunity. And he got himself into the box for the goal. He seems very similar in a sense to the Sarabia situation. He's not been fixed to a position anymore. I think Gary O'Neill's realised that this kid can do some damage going forward. So he's kind of wandering around a little bit now, within reason, obviously. And, it was an outstanding performance, and he's absolutely our best left wing back. There's no question. I thought Semedo, I kind of agree with Chris. I think that's probably his best performance for Wolves. You spoke about the players who were playing against him with the Sterlings and Mudryk. He had them both in his pocket the whole game. They never had a kick. And what I really like about him this season is he's better defensively now. He's so controlled, and he's got a level of composure about him now. You're not worried he's going to get slaughtered every time a player comes at him. Obviously, this division, there are players that are going to hurt you, but we've not really seen much of that this season. And I think if he could put a final ball into his game and maybe a couple of goals, then he's one of the best right wing backs in the division for me, if he can add that to his game, because he's got all those qualities. There were two outstanding performances, and look, we know that Chelsea aren't at their best, but we also know they've got players of real quality who can hurt you, and those wing backs just controlled them for the entire game. So really, really good performances.
I thought it was really interesting that Sterling changed sides a couple of times and didn't get change out of either of them, and I thought he did that really well. I thought there's a little bit of movement, and they didn't get any change out of him whatsoever. Just a quick question, not just because it's Totti, Tyler. Do you think because of Totti's athleticism, we know he's got limitations in terms of the ball, but if you've got Totti, who has got the pace and legs to get you out of trouble if there's space, you can get more out of Ryan Ait-Nouri when you've got that kind of player behind him?
Yeah, I think we all agree. Is that probably why Totti's in the side? Because he's very athletic, very strong, very direct. I also think Gomez and Lamina do a bit of that work as well, between them. So I think between the three of them, it gives you more than enough cover to enable him. I mean, what left wing back has a bit of a free role, but he did yesterday, didn't he? It was bonkers. And you knock it the nail on the head. Totti probably brings the best out of Ait-Nouri, because he probably knows there's always got someone there should one of his step overs not work, or should he? It just didn't look right. The balance wasn't right when Doherty was there, was it? And that's not a.
It's hard. Being in the widest position in the team, it's hard to play on your own natural side.
Yeah, and those two together, Gomez and Doherty, did start to look slightly awkward, didn't they, as a pair? But yeah, Ait-Nouri and Gomez. I mean, you couldn't get two more different footballers, could you? But they sort of complement each other quite well.
Absolutely. Moving on to the front three, and I'll stick with you on this as well, mate, because he's one of your favourites. Pablo Sarabia, Tyler, did a different kind of job this weekend, a little bit more defensive responsibility, but we all know he's technically...
Skipping out the midfield first.
Say again?
He's skipping out the midfield first.
No,
because
Sarabia was one of the midfielders. This is what I've gone on to, because although the Sky tab has got us as a 3-4-3, I thought Sarabia was more of a floater in the middle of those two. I didn't have him as a forward. I don't know if you guys thought differently. I thought it was the two players wide, and Sarabia was a little bit deeper.
I think it's what we've said. It's just fluid. I think there were times we were 5-3-2 without the ball. There were times we were very clearly 4-2-4 with the ball. Sarabia, although was probably a bit closer to the right side, he did have a bit of a license to play anywhere. And when you've got Gomez and Lamina, he can sort of be that third body in there, because you don't need someone with warrior-like attributes, do you? You need someone that can pick the ball up, and he just knows. I think he knows when to play the pass. He knows when to get us forward. He knows when to just slow it down and keep it. Just a class act, isn't it? I've waxed lyrical about him since he joined, and I think we are really starting to see the best of him now. And for me, he's in the best Wolves team now. He warrants that place, and he's bringing out the best of the others. I think again, probably his best performance in a Wolves shirt. I know he came on and scored against Spurs and etc. But from an all-round display, that was very good.
From a team perspective, I thought he put himself about a bit. He was aggressive, and when he's playing central and he's got an out ball of Semedo, Ait-Nouri, and he's got Neto and Cunha, he's got all them options in front of him. I think Totti had played him quite a tight pass in that build-up, and he just whipped it out wide quickly to Ait-Nouri, and that was part of the move. And he's just such a nice footballer. But we've said on this podcast for a long time, the more central he is, picking up those pockets, the more you're going to get from him. You put him out wide, he's not going to beat anybody. So now we're starting to utilise the player for his best attributes. So yeah, I was really pleased. It wasn't spectacular. It was just efficient. It was.
I thought it was excellent, yeah.
Moutinho-like in terms of his decision-making. It was relentlessly good decision-making, short, sharp passing, recycling again and again. So, yeah, really good performance. Got told off for missing out in the midfield when he was part of the midfield knocky.
It's because you've got Knocker, haven't you? You need someone with it, to talk about two midfielding forces.
Well, this is it. Obviously, I've got the silk and the charm of yourself, and then we bring on the butcher to talk about the midfield general. So this is where we're at with the podcast. So, Knocker, tell us about Mario Lemina and Joe Gomez.
It just works together, doesn't it? I mean, we've had conversations.
I'll do that, that's fun.
It does. I mean, we've had conversations about Lemina before, and there's a honey monster lookalike on this podcast who says he's limited, and I've not seen that myself. It's I just think that they're two quality players, and as good as Doyle is, it doesn't work as well for me when he's in there, and that's not a slant on him because I think he's been brilliant. But we just look a better side with those two in it. And Gomez, he's ball recovery. He's just I've never seen a player like it for winning the ball back, and he must be such a pain to play against because the second you've got the ball, he's at your ankles, he's nibbling you, he's hurting you, he's giving you a little kick, a little dig, and he's coming away with the ball, and he almost lets Lemina play a little bit more. But they just seem to have this kind of. It's almost like a striking duo, like a Bull and Much kind of thing, where one will go and one will stay, and they just feed off each other. And for the equaliser, Gomez wins it, he goes, and Lemina just hangs back a little bit to provide that level of support. It just really works well together. And I thought they were both excellent, and I thought it was that was our engine room. And when you're up against two players like one of them's a World Cup winner, and one of them's £100 million worth of footballer, you've got to be at your best to compete with that. And I thought they were absolutely dominant. I think they made them look a little bit silly in that midfield area.
Yeah, it's just I love those pair, and I love Tommy Doyle. I was at Brentford with Tyler, and Tommy Doyle scored a wonderful goal on his weak foot. But now you've got genuine options, and I stick with this belief. I believe that when Wolves play teams that will tuck in to try and annoy Wolves and frustrate, I think there's a place in the team for Tommy Doyle.
Definitely,
when you're playing teams that aren't going to respect you, like Chelsea, or anyone in the top six that aren't going to be concerned about us, I think it has to be Gomez and Lemina, because those pair are a match for anybody. Maybe not the two purest of footballers, but maybe that's been harsh on them because I don't think they hardly gave a ball away on Sunday afternoon. But yeah, I'm waxing lyrical the same as you, Nocky. They're happy to deck people. They do the dirty stuff good. They're efficient, but they're intelligent with where they are, their position as well. Tyler, how many times you see them make good decisions and good tackles? It's relentless. The way those guys press and recover the ball is as good as I've seen any Wolves midfield pair.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's totally different, isn't it, to like a Neves and Moutinho combo? But you sort of enjoy watching them. I'm enjoying them the same. I never thought I'd be saying that. Neves and Moutinho are the two best players I've ever seen, and I'm watching these pair and thinking, this is fun. And I think that's probably the biggest compliment you can play. I mean, like I said, you pick them up for what? 20 million for the pair? Just bonkers,
it's ridiculous, isn't it?
It's just ridiculous. And I can't give them any more compliments than Knockers already give them. Just works. That's the nail on the head. They just work together.
Tyler, while we got you, mate, tell me about. Do you want Neto or do you want Cunha? Which one do you want?
I want them both here with me. If they were upstairs with Mrs. Tyler, I'll go and make them both a brew.
She made me one, son, so I was quite happy. Tell me about Pedro Neto.
I mean, there is a follically challenged person on this podcast a couple of years ago, so he's past his best. He's never going to get over his injuries, and it's probably worth selling him now while we can. And
you agreed with me on that. You said you'd drive him there yourself.
And then
that rubbish.
It's an absolute throwing show tonight, isn't it?
I'm running out of things to say about him. I'm not sort of waiting for it to go wrong, but you're sort of waiting for it to slow down a little bit, or he can't keep performing at this level. But he's just doing it. And like I said, it's just speed and strength.
That's England's left back he played against, and he
it's embarrassing. Again, it's almost like they shouldn't be at the same level. And I think I was listening to Talk Sport, a couple of the pundits on there said he could genuinely be playing for anybody at the moment, and they included Man City. Now, I don't get ahead of myself with stuff like that because they're on a different planet. But you're sort of looking at him and thinking he could fit in anywhere. He's that good. You know, he could replace Salah at Liverpool. He's better than Doku, isn't he, at Man City? You're sort of looking at him and thinking, the world's his oyster now. He's that good.
You don't have those stats at this stage of the Premier League, and you've played the least games of those guys with those numbers, and you have, I think, he's his second or joint most now assists, and now he's starting to add goals.
Oh. It's spot on now. You know, that would have been his criticism before. He's playing the ball at the right time, assists, goals. His numbers are ridiculous. Teams are terrified of him. I don't know what more you can say. I think he's borderline or is very close to being world class. I don't throw that phrase around lightly. That's how good he can be.
I don't think there's many better in that position than him in the world at the moment. I think you're right. I think he's on the verge of world class because what he's doing at the moment is the direct play, but there's an end product. Every time he gets there, you feel like he's going to make something happen. And, you know, he scored 2 identical goals, one against the Albion and one against Man United. They're both identical and they're both just quality finishes. And then he gets himself 2 assists, you know, away at Stamford Bridge. So I think we need to enjoy him because, you know, there's a big...
But I was going to come on to this because people keep saying about we can't hold on to them, but in the current climate of...
Who's going to be able to afford him? Because we can't be shortchanged with some 40 or 50 million nonsense.
He's a £100 million player minimum. No one in the Premier League at the moment can throw that around on a player. Nobody can. No. So people keep saying, "Oh, they're going to go," but these players aren't going to go. Cunha the same. He's not going for me anywhere less than 100 million. So who's buying them pair?
Well, you've only got to look at Chelsea and the money they've spent on some of their forwards and their midfielders, and that's the benchmark. You can't just say, "Oh, because it's Chelsea, they'll overpay." They've inflated the market, and because of that, there is no way. I mean, what did they pay for Jackson? Look at Moses Caicedo. Look at these players they've got for centre midfielders and forwards. I don't think Wolves are going to get 100 million in this market, but Wolves can put whatever price they want out there. And if it continues this kind of form, it won't be a Premier League team. It'll be Real Madrid or Barcelona coming in because Neto is that good at the moment. So
they always find a way, though, don't they? I mean, Barcelona were bankrupt and they're still playing millions and millions of pounds on players. There's always a route for them to go. And look, I mean, from our perspective, if you don't want to see your best players go, but if you get 80, 90, 100 million for him, that is a full rebuild. That is giving Gary O'Neill the opportunity to bring in 6, 7 players who can potentially take us to the next step. I know we're jumping the gun. We're not even out of February yet, but when you look at the bigger picture of it, the plan at Wolves is to bring players through, buy them cheap, which we did with Neto, sell them on for a profit, reinvest and go again. And that's kind of, that's where you see this going. So if we did get anywhere near that kind of money for him, then, you know, you've absolutely got the world at your feet then in terms of who you can bring in, because your financial fair play, you ain't got to worry about that for a couple of seasons. You've got the spending power to potentially take you to the next level.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're not even talking about our man of the match yet. So Nocky, what I want to talk about him, Matheus Cunha, with one of Wolves' greatest Premier League individual performances since Wolves have been back in the Premier League. He was tracking, he was linking the play, he was beating his men. He's won a penalty, he scored a penalty. It's as good a performance as I've seen from a Wolves player since we returned back to the Premier League. Nocky.
He's just outstanding, wasn't he? He was absolutely outstanding. And I've been worried about Cunha at the start of the season. I think we had a conversation. I thought
he said he won't get 10 goals,
if he gets 10 goals. I didn't think he would. I just didn't think that he was going to be in a position to do it.
You're having a bit of a shock tonight, aren't you, Nocker, with some of these predictions, mate?
But in my defence, these were kind of pre-O'Neill, and the way he's worked with him now and the way that he's got him just in a free role. I mean, Lopetegui had this insistence to play him straight through as a number 9. And we all knew from day one that wasn't his position. You need to let him have a bit of freedom. You need to let him drop deep and pull wide. And he was doing that so well, especially against Chelsea. And he just seems to pop up everywhere. And he's got the perfect level of arrogance about his performance, hasn't he? He just expects to beat his man. He expects to get into the area.
His pace, to
score goals.
To do that to Gusto was a joke. Because Gusto is fast.
It was like playing in a school playground where you just knock it past the fat kid and run past him. That's what it felt like, because that's all he did. He just knocked it past him, head down, and he just He just drove. It was just incredible to watch. And, the second goal he scores as well with the cutback, just the movement to just jog into the...
You're going to have to carry on talking.
Stop trying to be professional now. You've called out the fact here.
But it is, though, he's playing his own game at the minute. He's got so much quality, so much ability. And, when we signed him, he turned a few heads when you look at his goal-scoring record and you're thinking, Jesus Christ, that's a lot of money to spend on him. But he looks like a bargain now, doesn't it? It's just I don't know what's going on, in all honesty. We just seem
barely
to
breathe.
we just got these players, and they've gone from players that you're thinking, we're probably going to need to offload them, into, and similar to Neto, nudging world-class footballers, and you'd be devastated to lose them now. Just an utterly outstanding, probably the best attacking performance I've seen from a Wolves player probably ever in that division. And Jota against Leicester at home when he got his hat-trick was brilliant. Some of the performances from Jimenez was absolutely outstanding. But just for a player who did everything right, was always in the right position, was always available, was always in space, that's the best I've seen, I think.
Yeah, nothing short of phenomenal. And just going to the end of the game, the celebrations...
he loves it, doesn't he? He loves it.
I mean, he's dancing there and he's loving it. And Cunha, I think he speaks various languages and he holds himself well. He plays with confidence. He said they're going to make us proud at West Brom. He did that. Yeah. I know Chelsea are in a bit of trouble, but he's still. Honestly, you kill me with that comment. I just can't focus. But he's gone to Chelsea, and that was just such. I mean, maybe that's the best Wolves Premier League performance from an individual I've seen since we've been back. If anyone,
it's gotta be, yeah.
If anyone thinks on the comments that of someone else, because I know Neves has held the team together and Martinho, but to have an impact on the game, to be doing everything, and tracking back as well, it was simply sensational. He looks really happy, but
wants to be there, doesn't he? He wants to be at the football club, and I think it's probably the first time in his career he's felt loved at a football club as well. And he just feeds off it. That he just you could tell that he really wants to be loved by the fans. He wants to do a good job. And when we got the third goal and they're all jumping into the away end, that's stuff you just don't see in the Premier League these days. So it's just a really enjoyable time to be a supporter. When the quality we've got now is just awesome to see.
Absolutely. Let's move on to a few questions, and so I can try and recompose myself. As you've absolutely done, mate. I don't even know what to say. Let's fire through a couple of these quickly. Poco asks, which players of our current 11 will be in the starting 11 for the first game next season? Great question. Basically, then, not Tyler, who's leaving in the summer.
So bring it down a bit, wouldn't it?
I don't see them going. I don't see teams that can afford those fees. We've had a bit of a laugh about Dawson and Totti tonight. Are they your long-term plan next season? I'm not sure. Apart from that, I'd like to think they're all still there. It might be me being a bit naive, but I think there needs to be a plan for Dawson, whether it's Santi Brenner or whether it's someone else. That, I mean, I love the guy, but he can't go on forever. And I know I'll go on about Totti, but he's the one for me where you can get an obvious quick upgrade in regards to how you play. And I know some people have said, we love Lamina, Gomez and Doyle. Can you get all three of them in? But that means going to a back four, so who knows? But like I said, I don't see these players going for 80, 90, 100 million. So unless we sell them on the cheap, I'd like to think they're all still there.
Would you rather lose Neto and rebuild with 6 or 7, or keep exactly what we've got now to start next season?
What a great question.
Keep what we've got now.
Yeah, I think so. I think
they're going to get better, aren't they? They're going to get better.
I think
if he keeps going, and why is there any point to leave? Like you've just said, Cunha's clearly the happiest he's probably ever been. Neto does need to stay injury-free and kick on. They're obviously happy in what they're doing. Who knows? They might not stay together. But I just don't see them going yet. I think they will eventually, of course they will, but they're both young, 23, 24? Time's on their side, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one game at a time. Let's beat Brentford on Saturday, but you don't know what Wolves are going to achieve this season. Might finish 12th, might finish 7th, might have a good run in the FA Cup. Something big may happen to convince this set of players, I want some more of this, it's happening here. Who knows? But the way Neto is going and what he's talked about, I'd be surprised if Neto wasn't playing Champions League football next season, but let's see. Before we go into the next question, last week we run a competition partnering with Iconic Sporting Moments, who kindly give us a print from either Matheus Cunha or Pedro Neto's goal. And I'm delighted to announce out of the random hat was Paul Nichols, a regular follower and contributor to our Twitter and here. So, Paul, congratulations. Drop me a message. Let me know if you want Pedro Neto or Matheus Cunha, the print on that. Thank you for everyone for entering. Iconic Sporting Moments, I think they may have done some more prints for this weekend as well for the hat trick. So, yeah, if you can see on there, Iconic Sporting Moments. Thank you to those guys for partnering us for last week's show. Next question, Carl Whitehouse asks, what parts of the game were tidied up from the Man United performance that resulted in the win at Chelsea? Nocky.
I'm not sure we tidied anything up. I think it was the change of personnel that probably made a difference. Bringing out Nuri in and bringing Gomez in just made us a little bit more solid. And I think we cut out those little individual errors and we didn't give them quite so much space. We were more rigid in the defensive line. So it was probably more a personnel change as opposed to tidying things up for me.
Carl, thank you for being part of the show. Sean Facer asks, under the current sustainability rules, we are flying. But if we are looking to get even higher, how can you see us achieving this next season without the risk of violating the rules? I'll answer that one. As far as I'm aware, because we haven't spent, I do believe then, because we would have a certain amount of money to spend next year. And we've seen with the likes of Dawson and with the likes of João Gomez, Pedro Neto going back a few years, you don't have to spend stupid money. Obviously now we're reaping the rewards of paying a lot of money for Cunha because he's absolutely class. But you've seen the benefit as well of having a really good coach. I'm struggling now to find a Wolves player that hasn't improved in that starting 11 under the manager. So what can you do with a couple of new signings? I don't know. But I think Wolves are very much on the upward trajectory, Sean. Everyone agree with that? We all...
Yeah, I mean, the kind of plan of the club really, isn't it, is to buy cheap and sell on. So I think if we're going to go to the next level, that's probably what they'll look to try and do long term, is sell some of the assets off and then rebuild on the back of that. That seems to be the way to kind of get around the profit and sustainability rules.
I think that's just not just for us. I think that's for everybody. Really.
Yeah, absolutely. You've
seen a lot of clubs
pattern, isn't it?
But as Wolves have sort of clawed a lot back, decent position. Here we go. Here's a fun question for you, Tyler. Richard Holmes asks, our team is ideally set up for the Cup. We're safe now, so how are you feeling about?
It's the hope that kills you, isn't it? Brighton will probably come and slap us, won't they? Let's be honest. So we won't have to worry about that, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean,
I think jokes aside, I think, you know, it'd be lovely, wouldn't it? But I think while you've still got City, Liverpool in it, you're up against it, aren't you? But get past Brighton, get a nice draw. Who knows? You could be having a nice.
Liverpool and City draw each other. Then who knows?
Yeah,
interesting. I don't know if we haven't talked about that off air, but I'm looking forward to that cup game. Actually, I know it's midweek, and I think it might be BBC, but I am quite looking forward to that. I'm not sure what the gates or the tickets are like, but it's certainly what I'm looking forward to, and hopefully there'll be a decent gate that night as well, because it's such a big opportunity. Yes, it's a hard task, but it's a massive opportunity. Should we do one more question? Let's have a look. I've had so many questions. As you know, each week, the show we sent out live, I asked for questions on Twitter. I had so many good questions. I couldn't get them all on, but thank you for contributing to the show anyway. I've done my best to go through as many as I can. Dave Butler, even Dave, asked, 18 points from the 15 remaining games would seem a realistic haul and finish us on 50 points. How many more do you think will be needed to gate crash the European spots? Oof. I've got a feeling, did mid-50s get us in Europe before? I can't remember. I haven't done my research on that. But, I mean, 18 points from 15 games doesn't feel like a lot.
I don't think 50 will be enough this year to get you into Europe. I think you've got Brighton, United, Newcastle that will all have probably decent second half.
Brighton still in European football. West Ham still in Europe.
I think West Ham will drop off. I think the ones I'd be not worried about, but would be United, Newcastle, and Brighton potentially. The home games all look very winnable, don't they? There's not one home game you look at and think we can't win that. But we've got a few tough away games to play between now and the end of the season. But I think you'd need high 50s probably to get into Europe this season.
But just taking a step back, what a great question to be asked. And it's a sincere question. And now we're looking up and very much thinking, well, we're going to need a decent run, but we're in the conversation, and it's such a good chat to be having in comparison to losing your manager walking out with like 5 games a week to go before the season. So yeah, great question, Dave. Thanks for being part.
I still want 8 more points. Get me to 40. I'll be happy there.
I'll be surprised if anyone down there is getting 40. I think.
I know, but I could.
I think Forest are gonna. I think Forest might get to drop to -10 or -12. I don't. Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, let's talk about Wolves. Let's talk about anyone else. This has been episode 88 of the Wolves Report. Chris Tyler, Mark Knock, and myself, Ryan Lester. On Saturday, we have another massive game. We're playing Brentford for the 18th time this season at Molineux. I think this will be pretty short and sharp, boys. Can't change the team. There's no need to change the team. Is the same again?
Yeah.
I'm a bit worried about this one. Just a little bit worried about this one. They're horrible, aren't they? I mean, they've got Morpay, who's just a horrible footballer. Tony's back. I think that they're going to sit deep. They're going to make it an horrible game. There's not going to be a lot of space. So I'm a little bit concerned about this one.
Thanks for letting my balloon down, Nocky, as well as going past that, as well as running past that fat kid in the playground. Tyler?
Yeah, I think we probably get done 2-0, to be honest.
Jesus Christ, not prediction time yet, you miserable bastards.
I just think it can one or two ways. I sort of get where Knocker's coming from. It won't be like Chelsea United. It won't be that open. We won't have that time and freedom to play.
So does that open the question about Tommy Doyle?
No, Gomez plays all day for me at the moment. But I love watching us when, it's open and we can counter-attack and we can break. I'm not sure Brentford will give us that opportunity. I don't fear them. I don't worry about them. I think it's a more than winnable game. It's just can we enforce the game how we want to? They are a good side. They're very clever. They're good at what they do, aren't
they? Their goal tonight from the goal kick, Tony holding his man off to send Mopay through. It's basic, but it's clever, and they are very good at that, and they're dangerous from set plays.
But if we can get Cunha running at Collins and Neto running at Pinnock, there's enough there, isn't there? That's what I mean. Can we manage the game well enough to give ourselves the opportunity? And I do see where Knocker's coming from. That's the big if for me.
Yeah, there's always that confidence, but then there's a sense of nerves when you have that conversation about taking the next step. The nerves kick in and thinking, well, surely something's going to go wrong now. But if Wolves perform,
it's expectation as well. It's the expect when Wolves fans will turn up on Saturday expecting us to go and win, and it doesn't always work like that, does it? As we all know. So I think that does add another dimension to it as well.
Makes for a flat atmosphere as well, doesn't it? Because there's an expectation that you're going to turn up and roll them over, and then it's just a little bit flat, a little bit tepid. They'll keep the ball, they'll throw themselves to the floor, and I just don't think there'll be that space in behind for Cunha and Neto to really hurt them. Sarabia is absolutely vital because he's the one who can kind of pick and lock.
Open the door, yeah.
He's the one who can find that little range of passing through. But I anticipate Lamina and Gomez are going to be quite deep because I think that the ball's going to be lumped forward quite a bit and making a bit of a shield against Tony. But I'm just worried about the amount of space that will be on the pitch. I just think they'll come here purely not to lose the game. And then if they can break and get anything, then they'll take it. But yeah, I just think it's going to be an ugly game. I don't see a free-flowing event.
What I would say is if Wolves have scored 7 goals in the last 2 games against teams who I would say are arguably better than Brentford. If Wolves
who've attacked us, though. Yeah. That's the difference, is they've attacked us. They've come with intent.
This is true. But if Wolves continue to be as fluid going forward, particularly with Aït-Nouri in the team now starting, so there's Aït-Nouri going forward, it's Nelson on the other side, and you've got the pace of Cunha and Neto, Sarabia open the door. I'm not saying Wolves will definitely win, but they'll create opportunities. So it's hard to tuck in, isn't it, for 90 minutes?
Yeah.
But
let's better side.
Moving on to the predictions now for Saturday's 3:00 kickoff against Brentford. Tyler, your first goal scorer and score prediction, please.
Tony in 2-0, Brentford.
Crikey.
I can't go wrong, can I? Because then when we win, I'll be happy. They always do us. They're horrible. I'm a rocker. They're horrible.
It's been such a positive tone. You just pissed on everyone's chips now.
Every time I back us to win, we end up getting beat. So
Exactly.
You as well.
I've just got a little sneaky for a 1-1. I think Brentford will score first. More pie than 1-1. Neto for Wolves.
You two are a disgrace. 3-0 Wolves. 3-0 Wolves and Matthias Cunha. This has been episode 88 of the Wolves Report. Thank you to Mark Knock. Thank you to Chris Tyler. I've been your host, Ryan Lester. See you soon. Up the Wolves.